Lyra was used to quiet nights. The small farming moon where she lived almost never had visitors, and nothing strange ever happened. She spent her evenings checking medical supplies, reading old books, or watching the sky from her porch. Life was peaceful, simple, and safe. But on this night, the sky broke open with a loud roar. Lyra looked up and saw a streak of burning light rushing across the sky. It wasn't a shooting star. It moved too fast, too heavy, and too close. The light grew brighter, then dimmed, then vanished behind the hills. A moment later, she heard a deep crash echo through the valley. Her heart tightened. Something had fallen. Most people would wait until morning, but Lyra was a medic. She grabbed her first aid bag, turned on her wrist lamp, and hurried toward the hills. The wind was cold, and the ground shook lightly as she moved closer. She followed a trail of broken branches and scorched soil. When she reached the crash site, she saw something she never expected to see in her entire life. A massive creature lay in a shallow crater. Its armored body shimmered faintly in the moonlight. Its wings were torn, one arm twisted under it, and its chest rose and fell in weak, shallow breaths. Smoke rose from its metal plates, which were cracked and burned. It was a dragon soldier. Lyra froze. She had heard stories about dragons, powerful, proud, dangerous. Some stories said they hated humans. Others said they never asked for help, never needed help. But this one was dying. She stepped forward slowly, her hands shaking. The dragon's golden eye opened just a little, focusing on her. It didn't snarl. It didn't growl. It only watched her with a tired, pained expression. Lyra whispered softly, "Can you understand me?" The dragon blinked once. A slow, heavy blink. It was enough. "You're hurt," she said. "If I leave you, you'll die." The dragon tried to move, but a rough, broken sound came from its throat. Its claws dug into the dirt as if it wanted to stand, wanted to keep fighting, but its strength was gone. Lyra hesitated. She knew what helping him meant. If the colony found out she helped a dragon soldier, they would panic. Some would call her a traitor. Others would fear she brought danger to their quiet moon. But she looked at the creature again and saw not a monster, not a threat, only someone hurt and alone. "I'm going to help you," she whispered. The dragon closed its eyes, almost like it accepted her words. Lyra ran back to her small transport cart and drove it to the crater. Getting the dragon onto it was hard, harder than anything she'd ever done. She used lifting straps and a portable hover platform. She didn't know how much pain she caused him, but the dragon stayed quiet the entire time, silent, breathing heavily, trusting her with its life. When she finally brought him to her old barn, she cleaned a wide space on the floor, laid down blankets, and activated the heat lamps. She rolled him gently onto them. The dragon groaned softly, a deep sound that shook the walls. "I know," Lyra said, wiping sweat from her forehead. "I'll make it better." She examined his injuries carefully. His metal armor plates were cracked but removable. Beneath them, she found deep cuts and burns. Some were fresh. Some looked older, from battles she could not imagine. She worked all night, cleaning wounds, stitching torn skin, sealing burns, and applying medicine that she hoped worked on dragon biology. The dragon opened its eyes now and then, watching her quietly. Lyra spoke softly each time. "You're safe? I'm helping. Don't move too much." Her voice seemed to calm him. Hours passed. The moon drifted lower. Lyra's arms shook from exhaustion, but she didn't stop. This creature had fallen far from home, injured, alone. If she didn't help him, no one would. When she finally finished the first round of treatment, she sat back on a crate and let out a long breath. "You should rest now," she said. The dragon blinked slowly. His voice came out rough and low. "Why help?" Lyra froze. She didn't expect him to speak. Not in words she understood. "Because you needed help," she said softly. The dragon's gaze rested on her for a long moment. Then he closed his eyes and drifted into sleep. Lyra stayed awake, watching him breathe. In that quiet barn, she felt something strange, a feeling she couldn't name. It wasn't fear. It wasn't regret. It was a sense that this moment would matter for the rest of her life. By dawn, the dragon soldier was stable. Lyra covered him with warm blankets and checked his pulse again. He was still weak but alive. She whispered, "You're going to live." The dragon opened one eye. "Debt will not be forgotten." Before Lyra could respond, exhaustion hit her, and she leaned back against the wall, finally closing her eyes. The dragon soldier rested too, knowing that a fragile human medic, someone who owed him nothing, had saved his life. And though Lyra didn't know it yet, this night would echo far beyond her small moon, because dragons kept their promises. And decades later, an entire army would return for her. Years passed quietly on the small farming moon. Seasons changed, crops grew and were harvested, and life moved in the same slow rhythm it always had. People lived simple lives, far away from the noise of war or the tension between great species and the stars. For most, the moon felt safe and forgotten. For Lyra, the years felt different. She still remembered the night she found the dragon soldier. She remembered the heavy weight of his body, the heat of his wounds, the deep sound of his breathing as she worked to save him. She remembered his quiet voice, rough and tired, thanking her and promising that he would never forget what she had done. And then he left. He left after only 3 days, once he was strong enough to stand. He did not fly. His wings were too damaged. Instead, he walked out of the barn slowly, turned once to look at her, and then continued into the forest. Lyra never saw him again, but she thought about him every year. As time moved forward, her hair turned a little silver at the ends. Her hands, once steady and young, grew lined from years of medical work. She became one of the most respected medics on the moon. She treated farmers with broken arms, children with fevers, and old folks with weak hearts. People trusted her because she always cared. But no one knew her biggest secret. She never told anyone about the dragon soldier. She knew people would panic. They might accuse her of helping an enemy. They might fear dragons coming to the moon. They might even demand investigations or punishment. So she kept the memory to herself, locked away like a private promise. Sometimes she wondered if she had imagined it. The nights were long and quiet. The stars were bright and distant. It was easy to convince herself that maybe it had been a strange dream, or maybe the dragon had died later and never returned home. But then she would go to the barn and still see the scratches he left on the wooden beams. She would see the dent in the floor where he had rested. She would see the broken metal plate he removed and left behind before departing. No, he was real, and he was gone. One morning, decades later, Lyra stood outside her small clinic, watching young people hurry through the market square. She had grown older, but still moved with purpose. People greeted her with respect. She had lived long enough to see children she treated grow up and have children of their own. The moon was peaceful, almost too peaceful. No warships passed overhead. No strange visitors landed. The world outside their sky felt unreachable. But Lyra often looked up at the stars and wondered what the dragon soldier had become. Had he returned to his clan? Had he fought more battles? Was he still alive? Did he ever think of her? She imagined him growing older too, maybe stronger, with deeper scars and new stories. She pictured him flying in the high skies of the dragon worlds, leading soldiers or guarding ancient temples. But she also imagined him forgetting her. The thought hurt more than she admitted. As the years went on, people rarely spoke of dragons. The peace treaties between humans and dragons had turned cold, with little communication. Some feared the silence. Others preferred it, believing silence meant safety. Lyra simply wondered. Sometimes she walked through the fields at night. The wind would blow softly, and she would pause, listening as if expecting powerful wings to beat through the air again. But the sky always stayed empty. Soon, Lyra grew old enough that the colony leaders offered to reduce her work. They said she should rest, enjoy her remaining years. But Lyra refused. Helping others made her feel alive, connected, and steady. She didn't want a quiet life indoors. She wanted purpose. Still, every year, when the anniversary of the crash came, she visited the old barn. She cleaned it, even though no one else used it. She placed a small lantern on the beam where the dragon had rested, almost like leaving a quiet message across time. I haven't forgotten. The colony changed slowly. More families arrived. New buildings were constructed. Technology improved. But the moon remained mostly the same, calm, distant, and unnoticed by the galaxy. One night, as Lyra sat on her porch with a warm blanket over her legs, she watched the stars twinkle. She felt the stillness of the world around her, the soft whisper of the wind, the gentle humming of insects. "Where did you go?" she whispered to the sky. No answer came. She closed her eyes, imagining golden dragon eyes watching her from far away, imagining the soldier she once saved standing between worlds, trying to find a way back. But nothing happened. Not yet. The next morning, she woke early and walked into town. People were cheerful, preparing for a local festival. Kids wore bright ribbons. Musicians practiced old songs. Farmers displayed their best crops in the square. Everything was normal, completely normal, for one last day. Because far above the moon, beyond the clouds, beyond the thin atmosphere, beyond the quiet night, something ancient began to move. 3 stars shifted, then 5, then a massive shape blocked the sunlight. Lyra looked up, her heart suddenly racing, not knowing why. The sky felt different. Heavy, full. Something long forgotten was waking. She felt it before she saw it. A deep, distant rumble trembled through the sky. People stopped and stared upward, confused. Children pointed. Farmers shielded their eyes. The rumble grew louder. Then a shadow covered the entire town. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. For the first time in decades, something enormous was coming. Dragons did not forget their debts, and time had finally run out on the silence. The next morning came with soft light, but Mira barely slept. The memory of the deep voice calling her name in the night stayed in her mind. She told herself it was only a dream. It had been so many years since she helped the wounded dragon soldier. He had likely forgotten her long ago. Life had moved on, and so had she. Still, something felt strange. Birds were not singing. The air felt too still, like the world was waiting for something. Mira stepped outside her cabin and paused. The forest around her was quiet, almost tense. Leaves did not move. Wind did not blow. Even the stream near her home seemed silent. Then she felt it, a deep vibration underground. Not an earthquake. Something else. Something heavy. The vibration returned, stronger this time. Her heart began to beat fast. She ran to the hill near her cabin and climbed it quickly. When she reached the top, she froze. In the distance, far beyond the valley, the sky shimmered. A long line of shadows moved in the air, large and slow, like dark birds. But these were not birds. Their bodies glowed faintly with fire and metal. Dragons. Dozens of them. Behind them came sleek ships, sharp and shining, moving like silent blades through the sky. The fleet was enormous. It filled the horizon like a storm of steel and wings. Myra's breath caught in her throat. She stumbled back, shocked. Why were they here? Why bring a whole army to this quiet, forgotten valley? She had lived alone for years. There was nothing here anyone would want. But even as she asked these questions, she felt a truth in her chest. This was not an attack. They were moving too carefully, too slowly. The formation was tight, respectful. They were approaching, not striking. But why? The sky darkened as the fleet came closer. Villagers in the valley ran outside, shouting in fear. Farmers dropped their tools. Children cried, pointing upward. Many believed doomsday had come. The dragon circled above the valley, huge wings beating in slow, powerful movements. Their scales shone like armor. Their eyes glowed like burning coals. Then, as one, they descended. They landed outside the valley with heavy, controlled force, the ground shaking under their weight. The ships hovered behind them, forming a wall of metal in the sky. Villagers screamed and hid, but no flames came. No soldiers attacked. Mira stared in disbelief. Her heart raced. She had no idea what to do, but something inside her told her this was about her. The largest dragon stepped forward. His horns were long and curved. His wings were marked with gold. His eyes were sharp and wise. He looked older than when she had last seen him, but she recognized him instantly. General Koresh. The wounded soldier she had saved long ago. He bowed. The entire valley gasped. Dragons never bowed to humans. Never. Koresh lifted his head and spoke, his voice deep and powerful. Mirror of Earth, the debt we owe you is old, but not forgotten. Mirror could not move. Her legs felt like stone. Koresh continued, his voice loud enough for the whole valley. Years ago, you saved a dying soldier, a stranger, an enemy. You had no reason to help. You did not ask for reward. You only showed kindness. The other dragons lowered their heads in respect. We have returned, Koresh said, because the Dragon Alliance does not forget those who show honor. The war has ended. Peace spreads again. And now we come to give what was earned long ago. The villagers peeked from their hiding places, stunned. Koresh stretched out his wings and bowed once more. Mira, savior of a soldier, friend of the Dragon Alliance, we stand ready to repay the debt. Myra's heart pounded. She had never felt so small, yet so seen. She stepped forward, her voice trembling. I didn't save you for a reward. I only did what felt right. Koresh gave a gentle, almost warm smile, something rare for a dragon of his rank. That, he said, is why your name is spoken with honor among the stars. The valley was silent. No one dared to breathe. Mira looked around. Dozens of dragons waited. Ships hovered like silent guardians. The sky looked different now, like a door to a bigger world. She had never asked for any of this, but the past had returned, not to harm her, but to thank her. And she understood something. Her story, which started with a single act of kindness, was far from over. Koresh lowered his massive head. Will you come with us, Mira? Will you see what your kindness has built beyond the stars? Mira swallowed hard. Her simple life suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too still. The universe was calling her. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The air felt heavy as Mira stepped closer to Koresh. His army waited behind him, silent and unmoving. The villagers stayed far back, too afraid to speak. Everyone expected joy, honor, or celebration after such a grand return, but Mira felt something wrong. Koresh's eyes were not the eyes of a visitor bringing peace. They were the eyes of someone carrying a heavy weight. She looked up at him. Why are you really here? Koresh lowered his head slowly. He took a long breath before answering. Because danger follows us, and it is coming for you and your world. The valley grew colder. Even the wind stopped moving. Myra's heart tightened. Danger? From who? Koresh spread his wings slightly, as if feeling the tension under them. A faction called the Shard Legion. They are not dragons. They are machines, cold, living metal, built for war and nothing else. They believe all kindness is weakness. They believe any debt is a chain. When they learned I once received help from a human, they called it shame. They said I should have died. Mira felt a chill run through her. Koresh continued, voice deeper than before. When I rose to power in the Alliance, they saw it as a threat. They attacked our borders. And when that failed, they chose another path. He looked at Mira with eyes full of regret. They chose to chase the human who saved me, believing her death would break my honor and weaken the Alliance. The villagers gasped. Myra's breath caught. They are coming here, she whispered. Koresh nodded. We detected their ships 3 days ago. Small, fast, and armed. A hunting fleet. Mira backed away slightly. She had never even hurt anyone, let alone fought enemies from the stars. She was only one woman living in a quiet valley. She did not understand why anyone would want to harm her. This is my fault, Mira said softly. I helped a stranger, and now danger is coming to my home. Koresh lifted his head quickly. No, you saved a life. This danger comes from their cruelty, not your kindness. His voice softened. Do not blame yourself for their corruption. Behind him, dragons shifted their wings restlessly. They knew time was short. Mira looked at the sky. It seemed too calm, too blue. How much time do we have? Koresh's voice was low. A day, maybe less. The Legion will not land peacefully. They will burn the valley if they must. They want to make a point. Mira felt fear rise in her chest like cold water. She thought of the villagers, the children, the fields, the forests. Her quiet world did not deserve this. "What can we do?" she asked. Koresh looked at her with respect. "We stand and protect everything you care about. We did not come only to honor you. We came to defend you." He turned to his army. The dragons formed a line behind him, wings spreading like a wall of scales and power. The ships above moved into a guard position. Mira had never seen such unity. An entire army, one built of fire, metal, and ancient honor, was ready to fight for her. But fear still grew. "You said the Legion believes kindness is weakness. Then why are they afraid of me?" Koresh shook his head. "They are not afraid of you. They are afraid of what you represent. A human who helped a dragon soldier without reward or fear. A human who showed honor when others would have run." He lowered his voice. "They fear a universe where humans and dragons stand side by side." Mira stared at him, stunned. She had lived her life believing she was ordinary, unnoticed, unimportant. Yet here she was, the center of a coming storm. "What should I do?" she asked, voice shaking. Koresh looked at her carefully. "Stay close. Listen, and trust me." His golden eyes softened. "You gave me your trust once when I was dying. Now I return it." The ground vibrated suddenly, once, then twice. Not from dragons this time. Something else was approaching. Villagers screamed and pointed to the sky. Mira turned and saw 3 burning lines cutting through the clouds, bright, sharp, and fast. Shard Legion scout ships. Koresh growled, his voice like thunder. "They are early." The dragons spread their wings. The ships above shifted into battle formation. The valley filled with firelight and shadows as the first wave of enemy ships descended. Mira watched, fear twisting inside her. She did not want war. She did not want people to suffer because of her, but she could not run. Not now. Not when so many had come to help her. Koresh stepped in front of her, blocking her with his massive wings. "Stay behind me." The enemy ships screamed through the air, metal bodies glowing with cold blue energy. They circled like predators. Mira felt her heart beat fast. The calm valley she had known all her life was gone. In its place stood 2 armies, one of honor, one of hate. Dust rose. Fire crackled. Power hummed in the air. Koresh spoke softly, only for her to hear. "Do not fear. Your kindness brought me strength once. Today it will bring us victory." And as the first enemy ship fired its weapon, Mira understood one thing with perfect clarity. This was not just a debt being repaid. This was the beginning of a fight for something larger, something she never knew she had shaped. The smoke slowly faded from the valley, drifting into the morning sky. The battle had ended hours ago, but its echoes still felt heavy in the air. The Shard Legion ships lay scattered across the fields, broken and silent. The dragons stood watch over the ruins, tired but victorious. Mira walked carefully across the grass, stepping around fallen metal and glowing shards. She searched for Koresh. She knew he had fought harder than anyone. She knew the battle had pushed him to his limits. She found him near the riverbank. His wings were scorched and his armor was cracked, but he still stood tall. When he saw Mira, he lowered his head in a quiet greeting. "You're safe," he said softly. Mira shook her head. "I'm safe because of all of you, because you came back." Koresh looked at the valley. "We came because you once saved me, but today showed us something greater." Mira stepped beside him. She waited for him to explain. Koresh took a slow breath. "Dragons fight for honor. Humans fight for hope. But you fought with kindness. And kindness has strength we never understood." Mira looked at the dragons around her. Some cleaned their wounds. Some comforted each other. Some helped villagers fix the broken homes. It was strange and beautiful, seeing 2 different worlds working side by side. She spoke softly. "I didn't fight with kindness. I was afraid." Koresh turned his head toward her. Even fear cannot erase the heart that stand behind it. The villagers began to gather. Children brought water to dragon soldiers. Elders offered blankets and food. Mira watched as 2 little boys tried to help a dragon twice the size of a house lift a broken wing. The dragon, patient and amused, let them try. A few days earlier, the villagers had feared dragons. Now they brought them hot soup. Mira smiled. I don't think our valley will ever be the same. Koresh nodded. Nor will the stars. Above them, a lion ship slowly descended like silver birds returning to a safe nest. Dragons greeted them with roars of relief. The sky felt calmer than it had in many days. A group of elders approached Mira. Their faces were serious, their clothes still dusty from hiding during the attack. Mira, one of them said gently, "We have spoken. Many worlds fought today, but it began because you helped someone who was alone, and it ended because others came to protect you. That is something rare." Another elder said, "We want to understand the dragons. We want peace with them, and with their people." Koresh bowed his head respectfully to the elders. "The Alliance welcomes this. We will protect this valley as part of our own territory, if that is what you wish." The elders exchanged looks. They were old, but their eyes were filled with new hope. Mira swallowed. "If we accept this, what does it mean?" Koresh answered carefully. "It means your world will have allies among the stars. It means you will never face danger alone again. And it means our people will learn from each other." One elder smiled. "Maybe humans and dragons will learn to fly together." Koresh laughed softly at the thought. Mira felt warmth spread through her chest. She had lived a simple life, thinking she had nothing special to give. But now she saw how a single choice, one small act, had grown into something neither world expected. "There is one more thing," Koresh said. "The Alliance High Council has sent a message. They wish to honor you, Mira. They wish to recognize you as a guardian friend." Mira blinked. "What is that?" "A symbol," Koresh answered. "A title given to those whose actions change the course of two civilizations. Only a few in history have ever earned it." Mira shook her head quickly. "I didn't do anything like that. I just helped someone who needed help." Koresh lowered himself until he met her eyes. "Yes, and sometimes that is all it takes to change the stars." The villagers clapped. Some wiped tears from their eyes. The dragons bowed their heads. Mira felt her cheeks warm. She had never expected such honor. She had never wanted fame or attention. She only wanted people to be safe. Koresh lifted his wings, slightly. "There is more. The Alliance wishes to open official relations with your world. Trade, travel, support, protection. This valley will become the first place where dragons and humans share life together." Mira looked around. She saw children laughing with dragons, soldiers helping villagers rebuild, Alliance engineers repairing the ground. Everything looked different from before, more alive, more hopeful. She whispered, "A new beginning." Koresh looked at her softly. "Yes, a beginning made possible by you." For a long moment, Mira stood in silence. She listened to the sound of hammers fixing fallen roofs, the sound of dragon wings stretching, the river running peacefully again. No more screams, no more fire, only peace. She finally turned to Koresh. "So, what happens now?" Koresh spread his wings slowly, letting the sunlight shine through them. "Now," he said, "we build something new. Together, humans and dragons, friends and allies." "And you?" Mira asked. "What will you do now that the danger is gone?" Koresh looked at her with a gentle expression she had seen only once before, long ago, when he was wounded and she had saved him. "I will stay," he said, "not as a soldier, not as a leader, but as a friend." Mira smiled, a real, warm smile that reached her eyes. The valley, once quiet and forgotten, now stood at the center of a new future, one born from kindness, strengthened by courage, and carried forward by two worlds ready to trust each other. And as the sun rose over the mountains, Mira understood the truth. A single human act had changed an entire galaxy. And now, that galaxy was ready to change with her.